Good afternoon, family. Thanks for checking out today's video. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of losing 300 pounds in 3 years. If you'd like to join the family, hit that subscribe button down below. Also, click on the bell icon so you'll get alerted when I go live or post new videos. If you'd like to participate in on the discussion like Rick and Cindy and Tammy and Our Tiny Acres here, you can join me most weekdays where I go live around 4 p.m. Central Time, or outside of my live stream. If you want to reach out to me, I created a Discord and there's a link for that down in the description below. Also, down in the description below is a link to a Pinterest board. What that Pinterest board has is a lot of our family's favorite whole food, plant-based meals, the things that we've enjoyed eating since starting this diet. There's lots of great links and recipes down there. And many times we take those recipes and we may not make them exactly the same way as they are there, but we make them how we want them to taste, or what works best for us. Today is day 717 of my 3-year challenge. I think it's 717. 718 of my 3-year challenge to lose 300 pounds. I've used a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet to lose over 220 pounds so far. I'm looking forward to reaching my goal over the course of the next year and living the rest of my life at a healthy weight. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear your non-scale victories. If you have any on-scale victories, I love hearing those as well. How are you guys doing on your diets? Are you succeeding? Are you struggling? What are you doing to succeed? What are you doing that's causing your struggles? And if you are struggling, what are some of the things that you're going to do that will make staying on your diet easier than the alternative? Let's go ahead and switch over to the main screen here. A few comments here. Good evening, Rick. I hope everybody had a great day. Cindy says, hi from the California Central Coast. Tammy, great interview. Thanks, Tammy. I really appreciate being on Chef AJ's show, and I'll probably talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. Rick says that Chef AJ is a master interviewer. You really do enjoy her interviews, her interview with me yesterday. Tammy says that you went off of caffeine for a year and got back on that train. You need to get off of it again. Yes, I've never been a coffee person. I was never, I had all these wonderful sodas to choose from. Why would I drink a coffee? But yes, I can understand how difficult it can be to get rid of coffee. Carrie struggles with the temptation of coffee, and just like fast food restaurants, it's everywhere. I mean, when I come to work, I drive by 3 or 4 coffee shops that I know that are like drive up coffee shops, or might even be other coffee shops that aren't like drive through coffee shops. So just like fast food, these companies, they make it so easy and convenient, and that convenience is what kills us ultimately. Tammy says in Washington, it's in your blood. There's one on every corner. I imagine with the Starbucks, it's even crazier out there, and people trying to copy and make better but yeah, so the coffee, I can understand how that can be difficult for people. One of the things that I learned about coffee recently that I didn't really know, and I think it's becoming more popular, they're bringing it out more, is that the effects of coffee, or how coffee works, is that you don't gain energy from drinking coffee. The drinking of the coffee just blocks the signal of tiredness to your brain. So your body can't tell your brain it's tired anymore. So one of the things that I would suggest maybe is, if you can, try to get another hour of sleep, add a half hour in, or a half hour, or an hour total, maybe try getting a little more sleep and see if maybe that helps with the tiredness, because part of the reason why you're going to the coffee is because your body is experiencing some form of tiredness, and the solution for tiredness is coffee. So maybe increase your sleep, or maybe even increase your food intake. Maybe the tiredness is coming from not having the food, and your body is, our bodies are crazy, and at the amount of things they can do. But one of the things I think I've noticed, or I've learned over the past few months especially, is that our bodies are going to go, or our minds are going to go to the quickest, fastest solution. And and that's why fast food restaurants are so difficult, or so toxic in the end, is that when your body gets a signal for hunger, when your body sends that signal of hunger to your brain goes, how can I solve this problem the fastest and the easiest? And with there being a fast food restaurant on every corner, that easiest, fastest way is to go to a fast food restaurant. And it takes time to reprogram that training in your brain. And that's part of why I say, what are you going to do to make it easier? If you're finding that driving down the road, you're being tempted by these fast food restaurants, maybe throw some, potatoes grab some purse potatoes, throw some potatoes in a bag, have them in your car, have Lara bars, or have some sort of snack that is, that you accept on your diet, so that when you get that hungry craving and your brain says, go to Burger King, you can tell your brain, hey, I don't have to go to Burger King. I have a bag of oranges right here. I have potatoes here. I have some snack that I made, a sandwich or something ready to go. And that's how you hijack your brain, is that you create a solution that's easier than the one that it used to go to, and the same thing, not just with hunger, but the same thing with thirst too. You're going to run into, your body's going to say, I'm thirsty. And your brain's going to immediately go to, what's the quickest thing I can do to satisfy my thirst? And then what can I do to create the best response? And so that's where soda comes into play, or maybe even coffee. Your body says, maybe it's just your body sending a signal that, hey, I'm thirsty. And then your brain goes, hey, the best way to solve this thirst problem for this person is to give them coffee, because it solves the thirst problem, gets rid of the tiredness, improves their mood. And so maybe some of the times when you think you're craving coffee, you're just thirsty. And these are all just suggestions, but I can understand, all of these things, anything that has even a little bit of an addictive property, like dairy, like those things are tough to get rid of. So, and then let's see here. Our Tiny Acre says that you quit soda and caffeine on July 8th, definitely helping with your health and weight. Yes, I think that they both will help with your health and your weight. The soda is obviously going to impact the calories that you bring in more than the coffee is, but I think that the chemicals in coffee, like the idea of a chemical blocking a natural function in my body, those things are starting to become more, avoiding those things are becoming more important to me. Like the chemical effects that these things have in our body, I used to just be like, it happens to everybody, or everybody deals with it. And now I put a lot more, I put a lot more restriction, or I worry about the effects of that more than I used to. In our tiny acres, you get a lot of energy when you eat greens. I notice that too. Like when we have our big salads, I feel like I get a burst of energy after eating the big green salads. But I hope that you can, work through the temptation, and, the tough part, like I said, is having those coffee shops all around. It's having maybe a better drink, or, having something, have an orange there. So when you think of going to get a coffee, eat an orange, you got to try to, and then, the thing that I have going right now with my, I'm 40 or 51 days since I reset too, is that, you got to start building distance between you and the last time you had coffee. You got to start saying, hey, I got through the day. Now it's 2 days, then it's 4 days. And then you can look back and say, I've done it for 7 days. I've done it for 20 days. I have a buddy of mine that was talking about how he quit smoking, and he used an app on his phone that he put in how many smokes that he smokes a day and a price for the cigarettes, and the app told him how much money he was spending a year, and it helped motivate him to quit. But now he has that app that I think he opens it up just to be able to look at and say, it's been 1,152 days since I have a visitor in my office. I'll have to let you guys meet her in a second, but she just hit the scale. But yeah, he's very excited that he can sit there and he can say, it's been 1,000 days since I had a cigarette. That thing I couldn't quit for 10 years or 20 years. I've been away from it for over 3 now. So getting it in the rearview mirror, being able to build up and say, hey, I've done it for this long and now this long and now this long, and keep building that chain up is great. Cindy says, you haven't had bread in 9 months following a whole food, plant-based, vegan starch solution. You purchase non-GMO whole wheat sourdough, and twice a week for lunch, you'll make a veggie sandwich. What's my thoughts on bread? I think breads are amazing. I talked a little bit about this on Chef AJ. I feel like right now I can't have bread. I had Ezekiel bread a lot when I first started this, and I loved having the Ezekiel bread. And then during this past 11 months, kind of when we were maintaining our weight loss, Carrie had gotten a sourdough starter from a neighbor, and she started making sourdough in the house. And it got to be a point where like the starter was doing so good that she was having to make a loaf of this a day just to get through it, or she was going to have to throw some of it away. And it got to, we were getting like buried in this sourdough bread, and it wasn't helping my weight loss, I guess is what I'm getting at. Is if you are trying to lose weight and you have bread as part of your diet and you're not losing weight, then bread would be something you might want to look to give up. If you're at a healthy weight and you can maintain that weight and still have bread in your diet, I'm not gonna, my opinion, I guess, would be is you couldn't have too much bread in your diet and still maintain a healthy weight. If you eat the volume I eat, if you eat a smaller volume of food, you might be able to get away from it. But I would focus on the whole food plant-based. Try, maybe replacing that with a starch, like you do it twice a week, instead make some sort of potato meal or something to replace the food. Because that's a big thing that I've learned, is that many of the diets I've done in the past, it eliminates all these foods. It gets rid of all these foods I've been eating, but it doesn't replace any foods. And what I've been focusing on now is that, I have removed Ezekiel bread. I have removed that sourdough. I have removed avocado. I have removed cashews. It's for me, I removed those for me because they were slowing down my weight loss. Let's see. I missed a few comments here. So, bread, Lara bars. What are Lara bars? Lara bars are like a granola bar, but they are generally just like a few ingredients. Like the apple pie Lara bar is cashews, dates, or it might be it might be almonds, dates, and apple. One of my favorite Lara bars is the cashew cookie Lara bar, and the two ingredients in the cashew cookie Lara bar are dates and cashews. So they're real simple snack bars. They're kind of expensive for the amount of food you get, and they are still processed, and they're mostly date. Like it's it's like a date bar. And so they're pretty high calorie still. But like I said, if it's between having a Lara bar or stopping at the fast food restaurant, eat the Lara bar, or eat two, and it's still going to be better for you. Tammy says, good ideas. Coffee is pretty socially acceptable. You do know the coffee affects your cortisol level and your quality of sleep, which affects your overall health and immune function. Yes, there are many times we know that what we're doing is harming us and we still do it. I was talking to a neighbor of mine today, and he was talking about having an angioplasty, and I didn't realize that he had that done recently. And he's not much older than me. In fact, it's kind of scary. But he was talking about, I hadn't seen him for a while, and I saw him this morning, and he complimented me on how I looked and brought up that he had that health issue. And I kind of talked to him about, it's change is really hard. And the reason why change can be so hard is because our bodies are these incredible survival mechanisms that prior to, the recent 2000 years, let's say, but prior to the recent time, we were constantly in danger of dying all the time. We're always stressed. We're always constantly worried about dying. And so our bodies will look at what we've done in the past and say, hey, everything we've done in the past has gotten to this point right now. And guess what? We're alive right now. So that must mean that everything we've done prior to now has kept us alive. So let's keep doing those things that we did in the past so that we stay alive. But that worked great when you lived in an environment of food scarcity and danger every corner, danger everywhere. And we don't live in that society anymore. And we have the choice to overeat or undereat or eat the right things or eat the wrong things. We have a choice of whether or not we live in a safe space or unsafe space in most respects. Like if it's an unsafe place, we can go somewhere that's safe. When our ancestors were being hunted by tigers, if they felt unsafe, there wasn't a good safe space to go to get away. And so anyways, like I said, our bodies don't want to change anything, because if we change something, we might die. And our bodies aren't smart. They're dumb. It's just instinct. They just go off instinct. And that's the instinct that's been built into humans, is whatever you've done up till now has kept you alive. Keep doing that until you die. And we don't live in that world anymore. And we have to choose to remove ourselves from a diet of excess, and we have to choose to change. And the things now too is that many of these things that are killing us aren't immediate danger things. If there was a chance, if there was a bowl of Skittles in front of you and somebody told you that one of those thousands of Skittles that are in there will kill you if you eat it immediately, most people won't eat any Skittles out of that bowl. But if I tell you that eating that bowl of Skittles, over time, you die after the end of it, people don't really, they don't equate, if I told you ate the Skittle now, it would kill you 25 years from now. More people would eat a Skittle than if I told you that it would kill you immediately too. But anyways, yes. Sonia says, amazed with my progress. Thank you. And persistence. Yes, persistence is a big part of it. Have you struggled with emotional eating, or do you feel like switching to a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free has helped you with that because you don't have the sugar to lure you? Yeah. So first, yeah, thanks. And persistence has been a big part of it. I committed to do this for 3 years, and that's my goal, is to do this for 3 years. My goal is to do it the rest of my life, but my commitment in this channel was a 3-year commitment. And so that helps with the persistence and the keeping at it, because many times I thought I had it figured out and I wasn't able to persist, keep at it. I would fall off. Emotional eating. I don't know if I was a big emotional eater before, other than I just, because I eat all the time. Like I would, any excuse to eat, and so, yeah, good emotion eat, bad emotion eat, no emotion eat. The eating the whole food plant-based diet, I think what it's helped me with is that if I were to have that emotion to eat, or if my emotions are causing me to eat, that it would be really hard for me to eat to a point that I'm at a calorie surplus and to continue to eat that way for a long time. Something that I kind of feel like happened over the last week, because my last weigh-in wasn't a loss on the live stream, after it was. But anyways, the that week I really felt like I had eaten a decent bit, but I was constipated, I was backed up. But if you overeat today because of emotion, if you're eating a whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar-free diet, maybe 2 days later you eat a little bit less, like your body will figure it out and will find that equilibrium. And we talked a little bit yesterday on the stream about the sugar, and sugar, I think, will always be an issue and will always be a temptation, because it's one of the 3 points, the salt, oil, and sugar, that we still consume a large quantity of sugar through the whole natural foods we eat. I don't consume a large quantity of sodium through the whole natural foods I eat. I still get salt, but it's not a high level. I still get oils out of the foods, but it's very small amount of oils that are in these foods. But sugar is one of those ones that, you eat an orange, you eat an apple, or even a potato turns into sugar, right? It's always part of our diet. So the super highly processed sugar is always going to be a temptation, and we have to continue to fight that temptation. I think that that's going to be, and this is something I'm just kind of even realizing in the last day or two, that's why I'm having such a hard time with sugar, is because I still eat sugar every day in good amounts of it. It's just not it's not added sugar. It's the sugar that's in the bananas and the apples and the oranges that I eat. Let's see. Pretty girl's mom, driving and listening. Probably shouldn't be texting and driving and listening. But thank you for listening. Cindy says you are trying to lose weight and that you need to limit the bread. You learned from Dr. B of Fiber Fuel that sourdough counts as a fermented food. Yeah, we did. We ate a lot of sourdough when we let it in. We kind of were like, well, sourdough's okay for you, and it's just not a weight loss promoting food. And so if you're not losing weight, or you're not losing weight at the rate that you want to be losing, you need to look at these foods that are not weight loss promoting foods, and just say bye to them. Like Ezekiel bread was really hard for me to finally say, let's quit buying it. Let's quit bringing it into the house. And now I don't have any cravings towards Ezekiel bread. I don't have any I don't even think about it. And the sourdough was kind of the same thing. Like we had I loved the sourdough. We were putting this mustard on it. And it was so good. In fact, I saw a picture of it the other day, but I really hadn't thought about it in months because it hasn't been around. It hasn't been a choice. It hasn't been a temptation. And so I replaced it with rice, or I replaced it with potatoes. I did replace it though. Like that's the thing, is that I'm saying, you might want to get rid of bread, but don't stop eating that meal that bread was part of. Like don't, because then you get to a point where you're just, even if you're just slightly under eating over time, eventually it catches up and you get that binge. Thanks, Pretty Girl's mom. Carrie's checking in. Hey, Carrie, I hope you're having a great time. Our Tiny Acres, she said rolled oats weren't a good idea because of calorie density. Is that because they are rolled? I don't know. I was really surprised. I wasn't surprised. I think that rolled oats were higher in calorie density. I think that it might not even have been just that it was the rolled oats that she was hitting about, but it was the fact that they were raw, uncooked, that they didn't have water in them. But I don't know. I mean, she just no problem, Pretty Girl's mom. And I was talking to Carrie about this last night because I don't eat, like, it's not something I did try it and was good. I think that when the rolled oats is dry, if you weigh that per pound and look at how many calories are in a pound of dry rolled oats, and then compared that to a pound of cooked rolled oats that has water in it, that's filled, that adds weight to it, that maybe the calorie density changes then, and then it's more acceptable. But I don't know that she was saying rolled oats was good at all. But okay, so Cindy is saying that she was under the impression that it was about them being raw and uncooked and didn't have the water added. And that's what I think. I was talking to Carrie, and I think that's what I got the impression was too. That is just, it's a lot of calories. The only thing I would be curious about on it is that if by eating them raw, if it makes it more difficult for your body to digest or to get the calories from. Because, I talk a lot about the calories absorbed. I think that we get stuck into this calories in mentality, and it's definitely the calories that our body absorbs. It's the calories our body is able to take from the food. And so if we eat foods that are whole, natural foods, it's much more difficult for our body to take the calories from those foods. And when they still have the sidewalls, or maybe, when they're not cooked or they're raw, it might be more difficult for our body to get the calories out of them. But I guess from what I would suggest to you is, if you're finding that you're having a hard time losing weight, that maybe the rolled oats is contributing, and maybe trying them cooked, or try eating oat groats or steel cut oats, and see how it does for you. But again, with you guys' diets, if you're seeing the success you want to see, then don't over analyze yourself. It's when you're starting to see the slowdowns and you're starting to, get to a point where you reach a behavioral equilibrium, where then you got to start looking at your behaviors and say, okay, if I want to continue to eat that, then maybe I have to increase my activity, or I have to get rid of that for now and see how it goes. And maybe you take something out and you don't lose the weight, and then it wasn't that. Or you take it out and you lose the weight, and then, you can see the connection, and you can say, hey, maybe stopping and having sourdough twice a week was too much. Maybe I could do it once. and still be satisfied with my diet and lose weight. So, um, let's see. Related to having no water. Yeah, a bunch of people saying having no water. You went whole food plant-based 3 years ago and you love it, Sonia says, but you never stuck to purely whole food plant-based. You'd eat some processed foods and cheat with dairy at times, and I'm motivating you to get back. That's great. I really hope that you're able to get back on track and be happy with the diet. I think it's again, we're constantly bombarded by these processed foods, and I think that the best. I got a zit on my forehead. It's weird. I think that the best solution to the processed food temptation is to overeat unprocessed foods. When you eat a bowl, a couple times, a lot of times when I'm eating my broccoli and my potatoes, the last part of that meal is me kind of pushing to finish it. Like it's like I'm satisfied. Now I need to make sure that I don't fall for temptation later. Maybe adding that extra half a potato goes from being satisfied to keeping myself satisfied till the next meal, and so, yeah, but processed foods are so difficult, and even, we have kids, and I've been dealing with making their food a lot more the last couple days, and there's, food they don't eat, and it's like, oh, I should take a bite of that. Or I gave a couple of my kids a non-dairy ice cream last night, and I got some ice cream on my finger, and I was like, I could just lick that off. What would it hurt? But I know what it would hurt. I know that it would cause a breakdown in what I got, like, because it has multiple times so far. So, but it's constantly there. It's constantly a temptation. So, do what you can. And again, start getting days together. Start counting the days together that you've said, okay, I did it right for 1 day now. I did it right for 2 days now. I've done it right for 10 days. I've done it right now for 30. Get up to the point where you can say, I've done it right every day for the last 4 years. Like I can say I've done it right for 1,000 days, 2,000 days. But again, what I kind of like about this diet is that it's not difficult to get back into. I've done like the keto and the Atkins and those types of things, and it seems like once you let that junk food in, once you let that process, well, I think one of the things about those diets is that they have all these processed foods as part of their diet now too, and so you're never actually getting rid of all the processed foods. You're just eating different processed foods when you eat those ways. So, but just try to get some days together and do your best with what you can and let us know how it goes. So, let's see. Let's see. Our Tiny Acres. You said you add them raw. I think that the I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm sure that there's somebody who's explained it, or there could be some way to explain it better. But with the it's the actual food itself, I think. Or, it seems weird that, it's just water that's getting cooked into the food. Why would it make a difference? Or soaked into the food? Why would it make a difference? But maybe it changes the satiation. There's what are the stretch receptors in your stomach? It might change the way the stretch receptors perceive the food based on whether it's cooked in it or not. So, Cindy's asking how I have broken through plateaus. Perseverance, time, and commitment. I think that plateau is a word that's used a lot, and Dr. Lisle, I think, talks about it. And there may be moments where there's plateaus, like I didn't lose weight this past week. That's a plateau, I guess you could say. But if I go a month without losing weight or 2 months without losing weight, it's probably more because of my behavior. It's either I'm eating more food than I was, or I'm doing less activity than I was doing. So I kind of have to look at my diet. So the way I've broken through my plateaus has been to evaluate my diet, look back and say, what are the things I've been eating this past month that are higher calorie dense? What are the things I find myself eating more of? And then working towards eliminating those things. And so over the course of the 2 years, the one I mentioned earlier was the Ezekiel bread with the nut butters. We had avocado for a long time. We were eating avocado that we removed from our diet. Cashews, having them in the house all the time was something that we used to have. Again, eliminated those. Sourdough bread, had that for a short time, got rid of that. One of the ones I wasn't expecting to get rid of, but I got rid of, was juice. I used to drink cherry juice all the time. And when I was active, when I was working out, there was benefits probably for me to be drinking the cherry juice. But once I quit doing workouts and I was still drinking cherry juice, there was no benefit from it. It was just an extra 200 calories per glass that I was adding to my diet. So I looked at what was keeping me from losing weight, and I started working towards eliminating those things. And when I stick to this whole food, plant-based, salt, oil, sugar free, and I make sure that I keep the calorie density low, I lose weight and I break through those plateaus. Colleen says, congrats. Thank you, Colleen. You need to watch my interview. That's great. Yeah, Anthony says he's been plateauing. Down, I'm a rock star. Let's see. Sonia says, great tip. Thanks. I'd love to lose about 30 pounds. Wish your hubby would get on the whole food plant-based train. Yeah, send him over here. Have him talk to me. He's got about 100 pounds to lose, but you just can't convince him. He's omnivore for life. I was too. Absolutely. That's something that I really want people to understand, is that I was all about that. I mean, when I go to fast food, I would order whatever, double quarter pounder with cheese, and then I would get a side of a chicken sandwich. Like I was eating all kinds, and then make sure you got bacon on that sandwich, so I was all about eating the omnivore diet. Until I got, I guess what I would say is, ask him if he's got a couple weeks. Say, hey, just give it a week, give it 2 weeks. Let me just do it for 2 weeks. And he's got to do it though. Like, that's the thing. Don't let him tell you he's going to do it and then have him stop and get fast food on the way home or have cheese and stuff. But if you can convince somebody to just give it 2 weeks, just get rid of it for 2 weeks. And then if after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you don't feel way better, then you can start looking back at the other stuff. But I think it's amazing how great I feel. And I think that the dairy is the thing that, if he's fine, you're an omnivore, but it doesn't, where does dairy come into being an omnivore? There's no omnivore animals out there sucking milk out of another animal. If you get him to get rid of the dairy, even if he kept the other stuff. But the thing I've held to with this diet is that the salt, oil, sugar is very important. The removal of salt, oil, sugar is very important for this diet. And I could see an argument for somebody saying that you could have some meat in your diet. But I would challenge somebody to try to eat a diet that has animal products in it without any salt, oil, or sugar, and then tell me that meat still tastes good. because I don't believe that meat tastes good without salt, oil, or sugar added to it. Nobody just grabs meat and just eats it without putting something on it. And it wouldn't be very exciting to just eat chicken breasts with no flavor on them every day forever. But yeah, I hope you can convince him. If you can't convince him, at least try to get him to help you succeed. Instead of that 2 to 3 weeks having him do it, have him for 2 to 3 weeks, just make sure that none of the junk food's in the cupboards that you see. Have him put his junk food in the back seat of his car or in a cupboard that he can go to. Have him eat those foods away from you for a couple weeks, so then you can start to build that chain, and you can sit there and go, now I've done it for 3 weeks. The temptations are easier. Like if you're 2 days in and he's eating a Snickers bar next to you, it's a lot tougher to avoid that temptation than if you're 22 days in and he's eating that Snickers bar, and you can be like, well, I got on the scale, I've lost 6 pounds already. I don't want to, screw that up, or, and so try to see if he will kind of take the food away, help you, and there was an analogy that was kind of said when I first started this, is that like, if you went to the doctor and the doctor told you, or if you got injured, let's say you got into an accident, you broke your ankle. If you needed help getting in and out of the car, in and out of the house, if you needed help because you became handicapped for 2 to 3 weeks, would your spouse help? And most people, I would think, would say, yeah, they would do lots of things. If I was in a wheelchair, my spouse would build a wheelchair ramp up to my front door. But then look at that same spouse, and if you said, hey, I have an eating disability, I have this eating problem that I need help with. Can you help me with it? Will you help me succeed with this diet? So many times people, they hem and haw about it, or they just, no, I don't think they would. And it's crazy. Why would you help them with one disability, but then consider their issues with food not a disability? So, those are just some things to think about, I guess, in regards to that. In the 20s, 2 days in a row. Yippee, way to go. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up. So hit those like buttons. Yes. I don't know what. Let's see. And then Our Tiny Acres, yes, is that. Let's see, done. Let's go. You just finished Fiber Fueled. Love that book. And you're looking for a good read on plant-based nutrition. Any suggestions for your next book? I guess I would have to know your whole catalog of history. I have a list of all the books I've read down in the description below. The Pleasure Trap, I really think is a great book. And it resonated with me when I read it. So I think that that's a great book to suggest to people. I also really like the Joel Fuhrman book that I read right after that, Eat to Live. You read Bolshewitz's book. That's a great book. The book I talked about with Chef AJ, the Michael Moss, Salt, Sugar, Fat. I think that book does a lot to talk about how the food industry is harming us, if you're into that. Carrie said that she just downloaded The Dorito Effect, which means she used our Audible credit on a book, and now I can't get the book I wanted to get because maybe I wanted to get The End of Overeating, the other book she recommended. Salt, Sugar, Fat's great if you want to get pissed off at the food industry. Future of Nutrition also will get you pissed off at the food industry, but it has a lot of focus on cancer. Whole was another good book. There's lots of great books on plant-based. Your Body in Balance, I thought was a great book for women specifically. I think it would be a great book for women that have hormonal issues or are going through certain stages of their life that would help with that. Let's see. Oh, top chat numbers in the 20s 2 days in a row. That's great. Yeah, that's what I love to see, as many people as possible. Let's see. I have to wait a week. Oh my gosh. Maybe I'll just start listening to that book and then I'll screw up your listening to it and then it'll just become a problem. Anyways, or I'll just have to come out of pocket for it. So I went super long. My babysitter is going to go nuts that I left the kids there, but thankfully she's not watching them again next week. So it doesn't matter if I piss her off tonight, right? Yeah, Cindy, check out my book list. Yeah, Pleasure Trap, the Fuhrman book. I like all Campbell's stuff. Gosh, I like them. I like a lot of them. So everybody have a great weekend. And she has had them all day, so she's dying. So real quick, I'm going to let you guys meet my visitor here. Come here. You want to come here and say hi? You gonna get up here? You get up here, say hi. Come on. No? Oh. She's not gonna play along here. Maybe I can get her up. Oh, Jasmine, look. Look at everybody over there. Look at everybody. She's like, what are you doing to me? What are you doing? Huh? No. I had my dog in the office today. So she was in here and she was making noise in the background. I was trying to show her to you, but she's just being shy. So anyways, I am going to get out of here for the weekend and I will see you guys on Monday. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Make sure that you do subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you get alerted when I go live or post new videos, and make sure you hit the thumbs up like button there. And if you haven't started your diet yet, get started right now. There is nothing coming up this weekend that's more important than your health and your overall well-being. There's no party that is that's more important than you. So get started right now. Jasmine, everybody loves you. They say you're cute. So even though they only saw half your face. So anyways, you guys all have a great weekend and we will talk to you next week.